Hello, what day is it today? Tuesday. Welcome back to another week. Now, as you can see, we have major progress in here. I'm so happy. So all of last week we had lovely Pete the decorator in putting up this epic wallpaper, painting, everything. It is well beyond my skill set, which for decorating is there aren't many skills in that department. And I do just slightly feel like when it comes to complex things like this, unless you are good at it, and lots of people are, get someone who is good to do it. Because the wallpaper is finite. Well, everything's finite, isn't it? But particularly wallpaper, you don't want to cock it up mid-job and have to order more. Whereas if you mess up a bit of paint, you can go down to Brewers and you can get yourself some more. That being said, I still don't really trust myself to do most of it, so thankfully he came to the rescue. But as you can see, we still don't have lights installed. The electrician's coming this week to put them in. But we are really getting there with this room. We haven't been sleeping in here, hence there are no proper sheets on the bed or anything. And I've forgotten that we were meant to whitewash this, so we'll have to get Pete to do it when he comes back. But let me just show you, here, look. How cool is the wardrobe? Look, I'm going to flip you around. Come on, camera. There we go. Just look at the fabulous, just look at this combination. Love the colour. Up onto the, what do you call it? Cornice. And then we've just got a cream on the ceiling. In hindsight, if I'm being completely honest, I do slightly feel we should have run the green onto the ceiling, but there we are. We might come back and do that. But look at these, fabulous. These are the lovely Corsten handles. Wardrobe we need to refill now, but that's all been done inside as well. So that's looking fantastic. Let's ignore the carpet. That's another day. That's another story for another day. But as you can see, we've got some slightly random things in here. But look, oh, isn't it just lovely? And then those are the wall lights in the box over there that are due to go up here. And then, where are we? Here, we will have a picture light and then a lovely big picture here. And down where the basket is, we're going to put just a very slim chest of drawers. There's actually plenty of access here. So even if it does come out a bit, because, you know, it's not going to be probably any shallower than about 400 mil, there's still plenty of room to wrap around into the bathroom. And personally, I think it's more important to have a really pretty piece here than nothing at all, just simply for that walkway. And it'll be a, you know, standalone thing. So if it annoys us, it can move. But just look, we're going to put our lovely big green ochre bobbin mirror back on that wall. Lights will go here. And then we need to get the blinds back. Well, we've got some new blinds coming for these windows, which I'm so excited about. Obviously, you know the fabric on those because I've shown you. So, yeah, much progress here. I'm so happy about it. And I tell you what, the difference it has made to the way that this room feels. And we haven't even slept in here yet, but it's just so much warmer, so much more homely. Oh, I forgot to say the pendant hasn't been done. That's got to be swapped over. We've got amazing big Rattan Birdie Fortescue pendant to go up there. And then I think I'll put a little battery lamp or a little table lamp on one of those two pieces there. Obviously we've got bedside lamps, but then we've got really functional multi-layered lighting in here, 2 different circuits. So yeah, I'm delighted. I'm probably going to swap that light switch out for a dimmer, but I just need to get the electrician to check that that will actually be fine, because I have the dimmer panel here ready to go. So that is my beginning of the week update for you, which is hugely exciting. And hopefully by the end of this video, I will show you these in-between bits that get sorted and the final look. And the actual lights themselves are these ones. They are from Laura Ashley. Really great price. You can see them like that. So that goes on the wall, and then you've got this great articulated section which you can move, and they can go either way up. So I am actually still debating whether we put them this way or this way. Gonna have to get my husband to hold them for me and tell me, and I'll stand back and see what looks best. But I just think it's actually really fun. So we've got the green stripe with the florals on the wall. Then we've got a blue GP&J Baker collaboration with Pookie on these big kind of bronze, very simple lamps. And then we're going to have a fun blocky stripe just bouncing off the wall. And you know, that's 3 patterns plus any cushions we have on the bed. Like it's a lot, but I love it. What was that? I love it so much, and it really just brings me joy. And I know I probably shouldn't be putting blue in here. Well, except we do have north and south facing light, but it's just the windows are very, very low in these rooms, so you don't get a huge amount of the warm light. You get it in the kind of early afternoon at this time of year. I'm yet to know when we're going to get it. I mean, I could work it out, couldn't I? But I don't know off the top of my head what it's like in peak summer. Well, actually, we were here, weren't we? I can't remember. Anyway, it's only a little injection of blue, and you know, I'm going to add loads of warmth into the cushions on the bed as well. And the green is really warm. So it's just very happy in here. It's a very, very happy room, and onwards. And then what else is there to update you on? You may have seen on my stories, Instagram stories, that I posted about the fireplace in the sitting room that we are desperate to do, because like all old houses, it's pretty chilly here and we're oil, so we don't really want to be pummeling through oil unnecessarily. When there's just the 2 of us, like we could pretty much be living in a couple of rooms, and you know, we can heat separate rooms when we have friends over or whatever. But the sitting room, it's quite a big space, which is amazing, but it gets a bit chilly, so we need to get that fire going. And you guys, well, on Instagram, if it was you, thank you very much, gave me so much feedback on, I think it was 4 or 5 different companies that came up over and over and over again as great places to get log burners. So off the top of my head, it was Arada, Chesney. Is that how you say it? Chesney's? Feels wrong. Maybe it is. Charnwood, Stovax, Clearview. Can't believe I can remember these. I think there was one more. But I will no doubt still be banging on about this for another couple of weeks, so this should all tie in anyway. But I'd quite like to try and get one in a kind of, not necessarily a bold or bright colour, but just in some cool, like a taupey creamy colour might be nice, because so for context, maybe I'll just go in there and show you, hang on. So this is the fireplace that we are talking about, and behind this board and behind this electric fire, if please excuse the contents of that wardrobe, is just black. It's just black painted brick, and this fireplace may not stay here forever. So what we don't want to do is spend a huge amount of money on all of the surround and everything, only to find that the burner has to actually move. So that's why we are actually going to probably end up spending a decent whack on the burner, because that will be able to go wherever we put, like wherever the final fireplace is. So we're kind of going to invest in the burner and spend the bare minimum to make this a safe fireplace to use for the next 2 to 3 years. So for me, it's worth the money, because 2 to 3 years is quite a long time. That's 3 winters. You know, that's a lot of potentially cold days, knowing the country that we live in, and it's not really just winter, is it? It's all year. So yeah, I think it's really worth the money, and it will just make this, particularly for like our first Christmas here, it's going to really just make it so special. So yeah, watch this space. We are going to work on that, and I will report back as to what we pick. And I think that is all for now. So I will see you in a few days. Bye. Good morning, guys. I am off to a very exciting event today. This morning I am off to the gardens of Sarah Raven, who I'm sure many of you know, shop from, take advice from. So we're heading down to Perch Hill, which is her home and her garden and her kind of scientific, experimental, everything, her shop, all sorts. We're going down for a workshop, and I'm so excited, so I will take you with me. This is quite an unusual day for me. I'm usually at my desk or doing house stuff, so this is a really fun one, and I will try and film as much as I can for you, because I'm sure she will share some amazing advice, and then we'll probably go back to having a very normal week.
See, I could have used a hydrangea just the same way in the vase, but the other thing that we do a lot here rather than Oasis is just this, which is that you just shove a branch in like that, and it doesn't matter if it stands up proud, as long as it's lodged well in, that's fine, because that is now my Oasis. It's sort of just like chicken wire, but it's not made of wire. So
really
if I'm doing a massive vase, I would just go, just pick a branch, just shove it in.
That's brilliant. That's genius. Dun dun dun! It's kind of finished. We are so nearly there now. Of course, we do need some blinds. But what do you think? I'm so excited! This room is as done as it's going to be for a while, aside from getting a blind on that window instead of a towel. The towels are the current window coverings. But I'm just so thrilled. I mean, look, we've got some lovely lighting in here. We've got so much. We've got the lovely loaf bed. I'm so thrilled. We've got this incredible, can you see it? Well, you can see it in the mirror. Incredible light. Let me go up there. Woohoo! Yeah, amazing Birdie Fortescue pendant in that ochre mirror. There's a few things that aren't quite finished, but I could not wait to share it with you. We still need a chest of drawers, but we just have such brilliant lighting in here, and it's completely transformed the space. I just think it is completely unrecognisable. Whoa, throwing things around. But look, once we have some pretty blinds on that window, that will look fantastic. But I'm thrilled. We have a room that has really beautiful Lucy Annabelle wallpaper. This is from a previous collab. You will have seen it on Instagram. I have to just say that. And the most amazing kind of sage green paint. When you come in here, it's really hard to get across on camera. I had my parents over yesterday and they hadn't seen the room. They saw it before, but they hadn't seen it in its current iteration. They'd seen what I'd put online, and they both walked in. They were like, "Oh God, it's so much nicer than you can show on camera," which is such a lovely feeling, actually. That the feeling you get from the room is even better than I can portray, which maybe I need to brush up on my camera skills. I don't know, but it was such a lovely compliment. You know, obviously the men are not thrilled about the level of cushions on the bed, but we move. So yeah, we're really nearly there. I just wanted to show you that this room, after all the faff, is very nearly finished. It's got all of the bits in it. We just need the blinds, but it's got all the lighting. We've got really beautiful socket switches. Obviously they're all by Corsten. Again, another partnership, just to mention. But I would not put these things in my own home if I didn't feel like they were what I would already pick from, you know, they're the ones I would have whittled down everything to anyway. Bathroom in there is going to need a little bit of attention, and we've got to get a chest of drawers to go here, but I am so thrilled by the progress. Just look at these fabulous colours. I'm so thrilled with how this green has turned out and the way that it just picks up the green in the lovely pendant. And then we've popped picture light over a really lovely picture by my husband's grandfather. More green into the bathroom there. Really lovely towel window treatment with some duct tape. I know, elegant. A slightly random selection of storage still. But I'm not going to completely remove every item of personal belongings for this, because I think it's important to show sort of how, oh look, I've squished it all now by sitting on it. But I just think I'm so thrilled with how much more interesting this room is. I don't know if you can remember what a boring white box it was before, but I hope you will agree that this is a pretty major transformation. So there you go. That is the update for our bedroom. And truly, when I come in here now, I am just so thrilled to have this kind of interesting space for a bedroom. It feels like going into a really lovely hotel, if I may say so. And I'm So happy about that. I think a big part of that is the lighting. And I've had a load of questions on why we have both wall lights or reading lights and bedside lamps. Now, do you want to go up? Come on then. Where is she? Where are you? She's quite fond of this position, aren't you? Yeah. But I've done a video on Instagram, if you want to go and check it out, as to why we've got both those lights in that region. Obviously, we've got the picture light here. It's got these really lovely sockets and switches. We've got the USB ones by the bed as well. Dimmers, of course. And even just on things like the fuse spurs and all the ugly isolator switches that usually, you know, are such an eyesore by your bathroom door. I've turned them into bronze. No, don't have that much power. I've swapped them out for brass alternatives. Yeah, it feels great in here, and actually got a lovely bit of sun coming through this morning, so that's really nice. But you know what it has done? It has made me so eager to continue on with the rest. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go and talk you through what's happening next for the office, because that is burning a hole in my soul. It has to be done. It is such a dumping ground, and it is where I'm meant to be designing beautiful homes and having lovely consultations with you guys. And it's the least inspirational place ever. However, it's also meant that we have got every wallpaper and paint sample under the sun up in the rest of the house, because we are now like, oh, full steam ahead. Anyway, I hope you guys love it. Please ignore this disgusting TV. What are your thoughts on TVs in bedrooms? I had some girlfriends over this weekend and we were having a hilarious conversation about how when we were younger, our parents would never allow us to have TVs in our rooms. It was just absolutely hard no. I don't even think I had one at uni. I think I just used like my laptop. And then now I've lost the argument with my husband about having a TV in the bedroom. This is not the final TV. This is one we've had kicking around that I conceded would go in here. This is such a first world problem, I'm aware. But anyway, I seem to have lost the argument about having television. But what I have said is that it needs to be something much slimmer. We're going to get a lovely chest of, like an antique chest of drawers to go here. And it can sit neatly beneath the picture. But it must be ultra skinny, and ideally one of the frame TVs, that if I can switch it over to a piece of art. I mean, art on art. I'm not going to win this one, but it's never going to be the perfect solution, because the perfect solution would be nothing. No TV. No thank you. But you know what? I am partial to a little bit of Friends on an evening. So we win some, we lose some. Anyway, there's that. What are your thoughts on TVs in bedrooms? A hard no for kids, in my opinion, but I don't have kids yet, so I'm not going to be preaching about something I know nothing about. Yeah, I'd love to know whether you've had similar arguments with your other halves, whether that's the theme for you. Anyway, let me know what you think. Onwards to the next room, and I hope you all have a great couple of weeks. I'm sorry I am not doing this as often as I had hoped, but you know what it's like. Life gets in the way, so I will jump onto YouTube as and when I am able to, as and when I have something very exciting to show you. Oh, alongside my epic Primark pyjamas. Can't really see them there, but I think that was the find of the year. They're like the, dare I say it, they're like the piglet in bed ones. Obviously the quality is nothing like that, but they're still quite comfy. I'm rambling. I'm going to talk to you about my office now. Goodbye. Hello guys, I'm sorry. This video is a little bit jumpy and here, there and everywhere, but welcome to the room of chaos. Have you ever seen anything so awful? I'm actually mortified by this, but this is the true reality. Yes, that's a dining table. Don't ask me why it's there and why it's like that. It won't be there forever. But this here is the basis of my new office. And I, at the moment, am in slight turmoil as to how I empty this room out, build all of that stuff, rip out the desk that I'm currently sitting at, and turn it into something really special. But I have a tool that is going to help me, and I'm going to show you a little bit more about this tool. I have teased this with you before, but I'm so proud to officially now be working with Reno, because I think this will completely change the game for you guys and how you renovate your houses. So let me show you what is going to come from this box of doom. Now then, let me deep dive a little bit more as to what I've been doing on here. I have just made a reel for Instagram, and I realised how difficult it was to try to explain and show just how much there is that you can do with this software. So that's going to act, I think, as more as an introduction and perhaps just show people that it's out there, it exists, and it can really help them. But I hope here I can give you a better feel for everything that's possible. I actually don't think I've even used all of the features. There are that many. But I want to show you how I've been using it and how I then will use it to sort of transform the space that I'm in now. Because it's been the most brilliant tool for me to visualize what this space could be like. Because I think one of the biggest problems is visualization. I mean, I know for me it comes fairly naturally and it is part of my job. So, you know, practice makes perfect. And I can look at a series of samples in a room and think, right, well, that's how that would look. But most people can't do that, and that's completely normal. So what's so brilliant about this is that when you first come onto this platform, you are kind of prompted to make the floor plan of your space. So you put in the dimensions, you know, go and measure your room, go and work out exactly what you're dealing with, and then you can put the dimensions in and you can build the space. So as you can see, I have already built this. And I'm not going to teach you necessarily to suck eggs. There are so many tutorials on the website of exactly how to do things. The instructions are fantastic. And it is actually really user-friendly. So you just need to decide what kind of shape room you have. You choose between, you know, a rectangle with a bay window, and so on and so on. And then you dictate, right, well, this wall is this size. And this wall is this size, and you can either have them parallel, moving in parallel. It's really, really clever. You can put in your bay windows, you can put in awkward bits that stick out into the room. Make sure you put in your doorways, your windows, of course, all of the things. And then you can start to populate the room with things that you think you'd want to put in there, and then will they fit? So this perhaps isn't coming across super clear on screen, and I'll make sure if it's not visible when I'm editing this that I put some blown up versions on for you, because it may not be. But effectively what we have here, this window at the back is this window right here. So we have this lovely kind of triple window, and I've taken the dimensions and I've put it in accurately here. So it's 180 centimeters and it sits slap bang in the middle of the room. What I would like to do is, rather than having one central desk where I'm sitting now, is I'd like to have two desks, but as part of one larger piece. So we have one large piece running across, and we have effectively two knee holes where two people will sit. But what I've done is, because I'm trying to do this room on an ultra budget, is I am working with some preset IKEA units. So what I've got is let me see. Here we go. So, ta-da, magic. I've pre-done this room. So ignore the colours for a second, because I'll take you on to introducing that separately. But what I'm working with are these two units here, these two side drawer units, which are the units that you can just buy from IKEA. They come pre-designed, like this. So what I've made sure of is that those dimensions of these desks actually comply with what I'll then be buying. And then if I take you back to the plan, you can see that I've done a sort of central stick out option. So I've ordered another bit of worktop, and then I've ordered separately, not from IKEA, from a seller on Etsy, I've ordered some lovely turned wooden legs. So what you'll see when you come through the door into the space is these pretty turned legs, and then you'll have the drawer unit, and some more legs back here. So you'll then have plenty of space for two people to work with two computers. And what's been so helpful is to check that actually, when I looked at the space and I said, right, can I fit two desks in here? Yeah, I reckon I can. Let me try and botch it together on a piece of paper with a scale ruler. What was I thinking, honestly? Or, you know, I don't want to have to go and use one of the ultra complicated, highly professional softwares that also cost you the best part of £1,500. No, thank you. I don't really want to have to do that. So, ta-da, I did it on here. Now, what I've worked out is that that desk setup that I was after did work. I had to actually make some tweaks from what I had in my mind to what I can do in reality here. And that's been fantastic, because it forced me to do that, rather than having built the whole thing and then gone, oh God, this doesn't fit. How annoying. I'm going to have to disassemble the whole thing and take it back to IKEA. Super annoying. So I did this before I bought the pieces. So I had the IKEA website open. I had a couple of other things of what other bits that I'm buying open, and I just made sure that it fits. Now, caveat, I don't know if you can see it in this corner. Yeah, you can. Can you see this bit that sticks out? I was lazy. You can totally draw that in here, but I've been lazy and I didn't do it. So what I've done is, I know that actually the drawer and the desk top come as separate pieces. So I know that actually that desk is going to have to sit about probably 100 mil in from the edge where these structural bits are. And that's fine, because what I've checked is that actually there's plenty of room for your knees anyway, if that were to happen. But you could be not lazy and you could just draw that in, and then you're working with something that is super, super accurate. Now, I've obviously ensured that the desks fit, but there's more to this room than just 2 desks. Now, storage is a hugely important part of this office, and obviously, as you can see from my previous clips, there's a lot of stuff in here. Some things don't belong in here, like the giant dining table that is surplus to requirements. It's rather nice, actually, so I don't want to get rid of it, but it just got dumped in here over the weekend, and it's too heavy for me to move. Such is life. And then obviously we have all the IKEA stuff ready to go. But we really need storage for samples. I have, you know, more carpet samples, more fabric samples, more wood samples than I can shake a stick at. And they're very useful. I use them in my consultations. I use them with clients all the time. So they need a home. Now, what I've done is I've used, again, the standard dimensions from a set of IKEA Billy bookcases for these 3 units. And simply that corner will be dead space. So actually what I think I will do is turn it. I don't think it needs to be a corner. I think it can just run all the way. It doesn't necessarily achieve anything being a corner like that. And again, helpful to put it on paper to actually see that, and rather than thinking I must have corner storage. You don't really need corner storage. You can just run it all the way across and it will be great. So if I take you to that elevation, this obviously is quite helpful to see. So I could just turn this corner unit around and I'd have a whole run of storage. Now, the reason I initially did it in a corner like this is because I think sometimes it's nice to have some storage that isn't necessarily visible, you know, from, like, if I'm doing my consultations, everything behind me will be on show. So I've been thinking about ways that I can have some storage that I don't need to necessarily always beautify and worry about it being entirely perfect. But what's also lovely in here is that I've been able to put in some artwork. This is going to be a massive cork board, but as you can see, plenty of access into those desks, and even a little place for, you know, the foam chair, when you just are bored of sitting at your desk, and actually there's a perfect place to go and sit with a nice armchair and a lamp. So then once you've populated this, I think it's so helpful. I don't know where the wallpaper went here. That's weird. Maybe I didn't finish it, but it's so helpful to then be able to say, right, well, actually, I'd like this room to be fully wallpapered, and I'd like all of the woodwork, the windows, everything to be painted green. And you can just totally decide that. So look, if I just click on this window, click on the little paint guy, I can choose from Farrow and Ball colours, and I can choose from coat colours. Reno is forever updating themselves. They are adding all the time. So I wouldn't be surprised, and I'm not confirming this, I have no idea, but I wouldn't be surprised to see all sorts of things be added onto here in the near future. So you can choose from a whole heap of colours, whatever you want to choose from here. I've chosen a particular colour. This is, I think, what are we here? Yay Bridge Green, I think, by Farrow and Ball. And then what I've done is on the walls, you can say, well, right, I want to choose here, I'll do it on this wall for you so you can see. So on this wall, I want to make it a wallpaper, and I'm just going to do a stripe on this wall to show you. So I'm going to say, right, this wallpaper is going to be a stripe. Let me pull it across the whole space, and the main colour is going to be yellow. So we're going to go for a coat colour, and let's say we'll go for Ziggy's yellow. And the secondary colour, we're going to go really full on, and it's going to be a blue and yellow striped wallpaper. Now, probably not for me, but brilliant to be able to see it, right? So there's your wallpaper put into the space, and you can do the same as I have done. I'm going to take that away because it's a little offensive, but as you can see, I've put a stripe onto this chair. So there's a chair that I really like that has a pink and red stripe that I think might be a nice addition to this room. And so I've added in a chair, and if I want to just add a piece of furniture, I click the add button, and you can add everything under the sun, and it's grouped into sections, and it knows which kind of room you're working on, so you don't have to spend hours faffing around looking for stuff. You can search for it, or you can just click on the office section and say, right, well, I'd like, I don't know, a laptop, and I'm going to put that laptop on that desk there and see how that looks. Or I'd like a printer. Let's see what the printer looks like. So let's do that here. Let's add this on. I'm just going to search for a printer. Pop the printer. Oh, look, it's put it bang in the right place. So there we have a printer between the two desks, which is probably where it would go. And if I'm so inclined, I could make it black because that's probably the colour that it would be. There we go. There's the printer. Isn't it fab? Isn't it so great? And this is just the layout feature. So if I just save this and come out, I can show you the other couple of features, which I have to be honest with you, I haven't used hugely. And I'd say it's mostly because I am a creature of habit and I'm stuck in my kind of old ways of how I've done things for years and years. And actually, I need to shift myself across onto this, because I think the way I could utilize this software to really show clients how something might look that we're suggesting would be fantastic. And so if I just pop into the inspiration tab here, you can add in a whole heap of imagery that you are liking for that particular room. And then this details section, I think, well, the details and the info, I think, are so important. So this is your sort of moment to really go to town on the details of everything you want. And this is particularly important when you are going out to tender for, let's say, some really complicated joinery work, or let's say you are doing a bathroom renovation and you want to send a plumber or a bathroom fitter everything that you intend to have in that bathroom, so you can be super clear as to whether you want to have chrome trims on your tiled niche. No, you don't. Or whether you'd like them to mitre the edge, because then they're quoting on a basis of what you actually would like, as opposed to any assumptions that they might have. And what is that adage about assumptions that makes an ass of you and me? It's kind of, yeah, lame, but it's really true. And this helps you to take away any of those assumptions and any grey areas. So I would really encourage you to check out this, and then you can share it in a really digestible way where it comes with the plans, with the elevations, so they can see exactly what you've got in your mind, along with the more technical details. I mean, it even goes down to a level of waste removal. If you are living in a terraced house in London, you're going to need to specify that they will need to either provide a skip, but they'll also need to close, they'll need to get a permit to have a residence parking space, and so on and so on. So all of this information can be in one place. And for me, I just think this takes away so much additional headache and room for, oh, well, you didn't tell me that, or all the stuff that we all deal with all the time. So as you can tell, I'm really passionate about Reno. I just think it's truly fantastic. The information, you can do befores, you can do other floor plans you can put on here. It even asks you where your fuse box is. The thinking that has gone on into the structure of this piece of software is beyond. It's really, really impressive. And then you can go and share it, and you can share as much as little as you want. It's so impressive. You can PDF your elevations. You could just quickly ping an elevation across. I will have no doubt put some on screen here because I'll have just shared them, got them as a PDF, put them on screen. Or you can share a whacking great document ready to go out for tender. I love it. I love this so much, and I'm really excited to sort of bring it to you guys, because I think it's totally going to transform how people renovate. There is nothing else like this that's any good. There are lots of wannabes. There are lots of apps trying to help you design rooms, and they're dreadful. Or there is ultra complex drawing software that, yeah, you need a degree in, and they cost a fortune. So for the consumer, for the renovator, and then also for people like me, this is totally changing the game. So I'm very proud to be working with Reno on this. It's truly a totally authentic partnership. I tried it, and I've tried it for months, and I love it. And I said, okay, great, let's do it. Yeah, they very kindly have offered a fantastic discount for you guys. So I'll pop the code and everything, all the information that you need. There's a free trial, whatever. I'll put it all in the caption below. So make sure you check that out. Use the link below in order to go and get that discount. and try it and let me know what you think, because I do think if you're in the middle of a renovation or you're even starting a renovation, get on this. I think it will change your life, no joke. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed my overexcitement into Reno, and you will have to stay tuned to see this office come to life a bit more. I really hope over the next few weeks I'm able to clear this place out, have a bit of time to put everything together, get it all installed, pick a wallpaper, pick a paint colour. Got any suggestions, let me know. I'm going very green, very botanical, maybe some pink, very full on. And I'm really excited about it, and I can't wait to have 2 desks and yeah, have a slightly better setup. Yee! So exciting. So I thought for the last segment of this, for this week's video, I would answer a bunch of your questions which you very kindly submitted through Instagram. I will I'll rattle through maybe 5-10 minutes worth of these and come back to, because there's loads and loads and loads. So I'll get through a bunch today. I haven't themed it or anything. I'm literally just going to kind of go from first question. And then I'll try and do some more in another video. But if you like this format, let me know, because I actually really enjoy trying to answer your questions kind of on the spot. It's really good for my brain, but also it sort of reminds me of actually what it is that you're interested in and the things that you want to know from me, the things I can help you with. So if you didn't submit questions on Instagram and you would like to submit some for the next one, then pop them in the comments of this video, or I will probably put up another Q&A box on Instagram over the next week or so. Now then, where to start? Okay, I'm literally going from the very, very first question, which is tips for interior designers starting their own business. Oh, this is a difficult one because I think there are so many routes you can go down in order to start your own business. Now, I started in a reasonably unconventional way. I kind of started my business alongside working for a developer, in that they allowed me to do their show flats sort of as my own entity, and that helped me to get a foot in the door with various suppliers. But I think the kind of key takeaways, I suppose, are network. Like, go to every event that gets thrown your way. There are gazillions of events a year in this industry. Now, I don't know where you're based, and I don't know what that means in terms of your access to events, because I can only talk for the UK and mostly for the sort of London and southeast area, because that is where a huge amount of events are. We have the Design Centre in Chelsea Harbour, which is a massive kind of pull for, it has all of the big showrooms of a lot of the big suppliers, but it's not the be all and end all. However, there is an awful lot in London. So if you can spend some time in London getting to know various suppliers, making connections at various showrooms, that will really help you. But of course, there's no point having that if you haven't got a client base. So I would say get yourself online, start building your presence online. That is the easiest and I'm not going to say the quickest way, but it's the most sort of effective way to find good clients, is to build your online profile. And it's something I wish I'd done far earlier, because I relied so heavily on that initial bit of word of mouth that I had and the connections that I had initially made, that they eventually ran out. And, you know, I'm not of an age where I have children in school and people have therefore enough money. I don't know, I think I'm not quite in the demographic where you could use your friends. You know, my friends are buying their first property. They don't have money to spend on an interior designer. So, whereas a lot of people I know who are older and more established in the industry started when their kids were, well, for a start, they had kids and they were a little bit older and they were at school. And so I think they changed careers. They went into this industry and they utilised their kind of school networks and things like that to springboard them. Now, obviously, they've gone on to do all sorts of wonderful things. That's not necessarily all they do, but I think it's an amazing springboard. So if you are at that stage, then 100% make the most of it. But if you're not, or you don't have children, I do think it's harder. And I certainly felt a bit of green-eyed monsterism for people who had the ability to tap into people with a bit more disposable income, who were a bit older, and who were a bit more kind of in tune with having their house designed by somebody. You know, I think those, when I started, I was 24. 25 or 23. I can't remember. I think I was 23 or 24. And, you know, my friends were scraping pennies to pay rent in London with graduate jobs. It was not a world in which I could tap into them and say, do you want to spend some money on me designing your house? No, they just wanted the discount for the odd cushion they wanted to buy, you know. So I'd say, yeah, tap into what's around you where you can. The internet is phenomenal for connecting people now. So build your presence, and then just get out and show your face and get your name known. And you have to be really, I'm not good at this, but you have to sharpen your elbows, and you have to be really good at putting yourself in front of people, turning up to talks, like introducing yourself to important people in the world, introducing yourself to editors and journalists, and just spamming. And I think that helps. I mean, I am in no way there yet. I have a lot to work on with that sort of stuff. You know, for a start, I'm crap at sending magazines stuff that I've been working on. I just have a mental block about it. I don't know why. So I really need to do that a bit better. But yeah, just start building online, and things will happen. Things will come your way. And obviously, if you're designing well as well, and then you've got sort of a handful of clients, you do a really good job, then you've got a great portfolio to use, and then you're off. Whew, that was a long answer, but now I've lost the bloody things. I'll just answer another one that I read earlier, because there's loads, which is how to add interest into a space. So by this, I'm guessing you have a fairly bland box of a room, let's just say, which very often is the case when we're dealing with new builds or kind of conversions that were done in the noughties, where they stripped everything of its character. And I think, yeah, the first thing I think you can do is to put that character back in. So whatever the age of your property is, you probably ought to be reasonably in line with that and what that meant in terms of architectural features. So depending on how old it is, obviously, I'd be looking at introducing things back in, like obviously you need skirting, cornice. So many rooms don't even have a cornice. It's just like, ugh. So I'd be putting the cornice back in. I might look at some panelling if it's appropriate. Maybe you need a chimney breast or a sort of fake fire mantelpiece and surround. Adding in things like wall dividers. You know, if you've just got this massive open plan space, then I tell you who you should look at. If you look at Alice, well, she's called Alice Gaskell, but what is her Instagram? Alice Grace Home, Alice Grace Design, Alice Grace. You'll find her. She's got a huge following. She has done the most incredible conversion of a new build that I've ever seen. I don't even know if conversion is the right word, but she's added in partitions into a very big open plan new build space to create a really homely kind of cozy cottage feel to a new build. It's absolutely amazing. If that's what you've got, you should check her out, because it's really phenomenal what she's done. It's not just about the kind of physicality of it, you know, adding partitions. It's the colour she's chosen, it's the materials that she's used. It's really, really clever. So check her out. But the other thing I would say about interest is that you need layering. So you need a layering effect of colour, pattern, texture, all of those things. There's no point just colour drenching your room pink and then being like, oh, okay, well, that's it, I'm finished now. No, you need, you know, have you added in those architectural features before? Have you put in a fire maybe? Have you added in a mantelpiece, even if it's not going to have a real fire? Structure, get the structure in the room, then start adding the layering on top. So get your paint colour right, maybe you've got some panelling, maybe you want some wallpaper, then you want to think about the added layers of the textures from the fabrics and the furniture that you've got. And just try to be a bit brave with pattern and colour, because actually if it's a decent sized space, it will absorb it really quickly. And, you know, don't be too afraid to kind of kick on and really add in some oomph. And it's a bit vague, but it's difficult to, because I don't know where. Oh no, the question was how to add depth to spaces, which I think it's a similar question. I think it's all about adding layers, adding architectural interest, and creating a space that feels really homely. And yeah, that's probably how I do it. How much wallpaper is too much? Is there a maximum number of different prints in one home? No. I'm actually having this debate with myself right now, because I am currently wallpapering a huge amount of spaces, or at least in my head have wallpapered a huge amount of spaces in our house. I don't think it matters. I mean, I know lots of homes, beautiful homes, that have wallpaper in almost every single space. I think what you need to think about is the combination of them together. When you walk through that home from the hallway to, let's say, a kitchen to a dining room, is it cohesive? You know, whether that be because it's all from a similar colour palette, so it's all a reasonably muddy colour palette, or maybe it's loads of sort of pastels or really bold jewel tones. I think that's important. But also, have you got a mix of sort of really sort of blousy botanicals with some stripes, with some, I think it's totally fine to mix. I don't think you want a blousy floral in every single room, but what I probably wouldn't do is have some sort of really traditional Colfax wallpaper with huge blousy flowers, and then in the next room have something super contemporary and a kind of massive hexagon. That would be really jarring. So as long as they are in a sort of family together, whether that be colours, style, kind of period, then I think you're fine. But of course you've got to love that look. You've got to be someone that does really like the more is more. And I think, you know, it doesn't matter what other people think, it's your home. So if you love that, then absolutely brilliant, and go for it. Just be mindful of how they flow together. If you add dado rails, panels to add character, do you have to do it in all rooms? No. So it's worth thinking about the purpose of these rails in the first place. They were designed, you know, a dado rail is often called a chair rail because when you pushed a chair out in a dining room, it stopped the chair from bashing against, whether it would be a kind of beautiful, expensive wall covering, a hand-woven paper, a tapestry, all sorts of things that would have been on that wall. That's what that was there for. And then you have a picture rail, which is the one that's sort of about 4/5 of the height of the wall, and that was to hang the chains that hang pictures, portraits, all that sort of stuff on a wall. So they had a purpose. They weren't just decorative. Now they are put back into houses now for added interest and character, but generally they're not put in certain spaces. So we wouldn't probably put them in a kitchen, a utility room, boot room, you know, these more back of house spaces. Obviously a kitchen has now become more of a front of house space, but you get my gist. So my point is, no, you don't have to put them in every space. I think about where you've got enough wall space to put them. You know, if you've got a really, really bitty room, so let's say it's a hallway with loads of doors on it, do you particularly want a dado rail that starts and stops and starts and stops and starts and stops? I'd argue no. I'd argue you're better off just putting, let's say, tongue and groove panelling all the way across that wall and making it a bit more cohesive. Same goes for panelling. Just because you use one type in one room doesn't mean you have to use the same type in another room. Again, go back to the period of your property and try to be considerate of this, and try not to have the whole thing so bitty that you've got 5 different types of panelling in 5 rooms. That's just too much. But if you want to do an entire room of tongue and groove, and then in the next room you want to do more of a kind of picture frame style, it's completely fine. Just try to ensure that the panelling that you choose is appropriate for the room that you put it in, and don't go too wild. I think the problem we're seeing at the moment with panelling is that people are panelling one wall, or they're panelling kind of 3/4 height and they're making it a feature, and it's just, Instagram's doing the dirty on us. We need to step back from that and really think about why we're panelling, what we're doing. Panelling should be a subtle layer of added interest. It should not be a bright feature in its own right, painted navy blue with a white ceiling. I'm not going to get on my soapbox about that, but to answer your question, no, you don't have to do it in all rooms. Do it where it's suitable and try to keep it cohesive, and in my mind it should be painted in with the wall. It shouldn't be. My north facing sitting room has colourful rugs, books, etc., but white walls. Best wall colour, please. Okay, north facing, quick lesson. If we're talking southern hemisphere, no, I wish. Northern hemisphere. So a north facing space will get very little warm light. It gets plenty of light. I think there's a massive misconception that if you have a north facing house or a north facing garden, you don't get any light. You do. Particularly in your garden, at the end of your garden, you'll get lovely warm light, and you'll get evening light near the house, which is perfect. So in those rooms that face the garden, you will get that evening light, but it won't be quite the same as if you had a south or west facing room where you get lovely kind of really orangey warm light. So with that in mind, the vast majority of the time in a north-facing space, the light coming in, even if you have big windows and plenty of daylight coming in, it is quite a cold light. It's quite a grey, flat light. So what that means is that when you're picking a paint colour for that room, you need to counteract it by choosing a paint that has a good yellow, red, pink undertone to add the warmth in, so that you don't kind of double down on the coolness. So what I want you to avoid at all costs is blues and greys, and any greens that have a bluey tinge to them. So any teals, or, I mean, teal, ugh, I don't like teal, sorry. It's just the most impossible colour to use, and it was everywhere in about 2015, and unfortunately that puts everyone off now. I'm sorry if you have teal. It's just so hard to work with. Anyway, yeah, avoid anything with a cool undertone. So really good colours, depending on how moody you want to go. I mean, if you want to stay pale, Joa's white is really beautiful. That's Farrow and Ball. I think it's James's white, or James white, also Farrow and Ball, is lovely. Pinks, you know, if you want to go for like Pinko 1, Pinko 2 by Lick, Setting Plaster, or the new one Scallop by Farrow and Ball. That's lovely. What else? There's so many. Yellows are amazing. It really depends how punchy you want to be. Or a really muddy green, muddy but pale, a sort of O'Donnell, Edward Bulmer. That's an amazing colour for that kind of space. Really good if you've got period property. It's a really beautiful colour. It really like adapts and evolves with the light. I've got a north facing sitting room, so I am painting it, I think, one of the taupes by Lick. I can't remember the number. I'm going round and round in circles. I was going green, then I was going pink, now I'm going back to taupe, then I was going beige. I mean, what's the difference between taupe and beige? Who knows? The level of pink, I think. So I'm going for a pinky neutral, basically, to warm up the space. But it's actually a very bright room, and this is the point. It's a bright room, but it has very little warm light coming into it. It has plenty of light, it's just the wrong colour. So I'm trying to add in the warmth, particularly for the evenings when the room's going to be most used. Yeah, so hopefully that list was helpful. And actually, you know what? Many of the paint companies now have an amazing kind of thing on their website where you can actually select paint for a particular space. Like, I know that Coat do, actually so do a lot of them. I think Little Green, I can't remember, but a lot of them you're able to actually kind of filter the paints by the orientation. So you should do that. It's not faultless, because I think a lot of them still actually recommend grey based paints, but it'll tell you what the undertones are when you look at the actual specific paint, so you can find out. Okay, thoughts on how to choose a fitted carpet for a bedroom. Okay, depends the age of the person. If this is a kid's bedroom, maybe ignore what I'm about to say. Depends how old they are. If this is a kind of adult space, then I would go for something wool, 100% wool. A lot of the wool now is treated with like an anti-moth treatment. Of course, it's not going to be 100% like foolproof, but I think the worries of the moth issues of wool carpets from a few years ago are being, I'm not going to say it's completely gone, because I don't think that's true, but it's much, much, much better. I hate synthetic carpet. I hate it. I would rather walk on floorboards. Well, I love floorboards. I'd rather walk on MDF than synthetic carpet. I hate the static that it gives you. I hate the feel of it. No. It's much cheaper. I completely get that. But I would just rather not have it. So if you're going to do carpet, you need to do wool. And go for something looped. So rather than a cut pile, I wonder if I've got an example here for you. Hold on. This is assuming that you don't want, this is assuming that you don't want a sisal or anything like that, which is completely fine. But most people, when they're asking me about carpet, don't want that because it's too hard, particularly for a bedroom. If you do, 100% go for it. I think just test it on bare feet and make sure it's not scratchy. It's also just quite hard to clean. I think it's harder to clean than wool, really. But it hides the dirt really well, so it's a bit of a catch-22. It also looks lovely. I love the look of a woven carpet. I think it's really cool. Anyway, what I'm saying is, can you see these? They are both looped. This is a really big one, just to show you. This is a much smaller example. Just hide my face, try and get it to focus. The reason I suggest this is that they are far, far, far more hard wearing. They last a lot longer. They feel amazing. And they don't, they spring up better. So you know when you walk on a cut pile, particularly a synthetic cut pile carpet, and you leave footprints on it, or you leave like hoover marks. Some people love the hoover marks. Not so much for me, but that's because the fibres have been cut, and so when you're stepping on them, you're effectively kind of squashing the cut fibre down like that, and it eventually has to come back up. So your thoroughfares will be far more obviously downtrodden than if you went for something looped. These are also just really beautiful. I mean, for context, this is from Crucial Trading, and this one is from Sandringham. But you can go, and they're both kind of a pale biscuity colour, I suppose, and they've got, what I love about these is that very often they have multiple coloured fibres woven into them, so again they hide the dirt really well. I actually think this is Arctic Fox by Crucial Trading. It's probably too fat for a wall-to-wall carpet. I'd personally go for something smaller like this, but I think looped is the way to go, because if you're going to spend all that money on a wool carpet, yeah, you want to spend it on the right stuff. Okay, I think that's the end. I've done 22 minutes of recording, so let's see what I can edit this down to. But I hope that was helpful. If it was, and if you would like to ask some questions for a future video, please pop them in the comments. If you are enjoying these videos, please could you make sure you subscribe? I'd be very grateful, and I will see you in the next one. Bye!